Hey everybody, how you doing today? Oh, my webcam super overexposed while I was loading. Yeah, that looks better. So, I've been thinking a lot about how I'm going to do terrain texturing because right now it just doesn't look very good. I already set this up. If we go back into play scene, we can just see how it is now. I mean, it's not bad, but it's just, well, I guess it is kind of bad. It's just way too flat, and when I tried to add these little decorations to it, it's still, I mean, it's better, but the terrain itself needs to be a little more interesting, I think. I mean, probably this could look better if the rocks match the color more. But what I really want to try to do... Okay, so right now, the terrain, or the mesh, basically just applies a texture across the whole terrain, and it's just a repeating tile. And that works fine, but for our game style, we'd really want like each face of the hexagon to have like its own texture, and then the margins would have textures that would blend together. And I was thinking that I wouldn't really I'm being really anal about the style, but I wouldn't violate my rule of having the colors only change when the mesh geometry changes if these were all flat faces. So maybe that's what I need to do. Or that's one way I can take it, or one way I can do this style. So basically, I'll just make. I won't really use the bump maps, and I can have, I don't know, like swirls or something in here, and then a gradient towards the edge to delineate the edge of the hexagon, and we'll be able to actually encode that in like a tile map texture, I think. And obviously, we'll need to have multiple like variations so that the tiles don't all look exactly the same. But one cool thing is that we'll be able to rotate them as well, so basically every tile will have 6 versions that way. Um, and then I was thinking that another cool thing is that also when you get to a certain elevation, if you could use different textures, so we might encode something like that in as well. But so I've been trying to think about how I want to do this, and I think what I'll do is right now we basically have one texture for every block type. But I think now I'll actually have like a huge tile map texture, and we'll just have a bunch of hexagons laid out, and then the mods can say, well, this tile is associated with this type of block or terrain type. And for the margins, we'll also have certain entries for the margins, and they can blend together just like how they do now. So yeah, I guess we'll also have to have or deal with the triangles too. So, I mean, the only downside to this is that the hexagons can't really blend together. Like, I was kind of hoping that if we had like a large flat area, it would be cool if like there was a dune pattern that went between each of them. And with this new system, we won't really be able to do that. But also, I don't know if that's really a good idea from a design perspective, because you'll want to be able to see where each hexagon starts and begins. Or, I just starts and ends. So, yeah, I'm not sure under this new system if we'll even use these map doodads to just decorate the terrain, but I still think it's useful to have them because the mods can use them to spawn, I don't know, story models or something. So it's not that big of a deal. Alright, but first, before I go any further, I want to do this in a new experimental branch of the code so that if for some reason what I'm doing turns out really badly, I won't have to, well, I won't lose anything. I can just revert back to this. So, this version of the code. So, okay, well, I don't really need to close Unity or anything. I'll just go to root. Okay, I need to create a branch. Let's just call this tile map terrain. Okay, I think you're supposed to start it with a lowercase. Okay, and do I need to, I forget if it automatically, okay, so I'm still on the master branch, so I need to switch to it. Okay, so nothing's actually changed now because it's just whatever the current version is, but if we look here, we can see that Visual Studio is picking up that we've switched to the tile map terrain branch. Not that, that's just, I guess, a confirmation, but... Okay, so one thing I need to do, how we'll handle this, I think, is that we'll have to actually use the UVs to tell the shader where to pull information from the texture. And since we might blend between 3 different tiles for the triangle, we'll need to have 3 sets of UVs at the very most. So yeah, that's quite a bit more information, but I don't think it will be too bad. Let me see. I'm trying to find the shader. Okay, so for right now we have, like, nothing uses text chord 0. And then we have this terrain and the light info. The light info isn't that, yeah, it's just the specular stuff. Which I don't even know if we're really going to use right now, so I might just take that out. Well, I can see us using it for like ice, but ice, we're not implementing that right now. And it's definitely in like the future. I want to make an ice block, but it's going to be transparent and need like a distortion shader, so it might not even be on this mesh. It might need a different shader entirely. So we might just say that the normal terrain has no specular. I think that's probably the right way to go because the terrain, like I said, specular highlights bring your eye to something, and we don't really want the terrain to be that eye-catching. Oh, one other thing I want to do is let's make a new little to-do page here. Tile map. Or let's just call it terrain art. And so I can just pull out stuff in here that I need. I guess I don't really need to pull out anything. I can just do as I go. So we want to, okay, what should I guess first, before we actually start making the art for specific terrains, we want to just get the base, like, support. Okay, so for the shader, again, we'll need to handle 3 UVs. And then for the mesh generator, we'll need to, again, yeah, I guess set up the 3 UVs. And then last thing is the mod need to handle data for a tile map. And then also import tile map, textures, and metadata. And then of course we'll need to store the metadata somewhere in the game file, and then the mesh generator will read from that. Okay, but before we actually use a texture, I kind of want to just get the shader and the mesh generator working so we know that this scheme will actually be possible. I don't really see why it wouldn't, but just in case. Okay, so yeah, I'm just gonna... We just won't have... Yeah, any specular data, or any specular on the terrain for now. Okay, so that frees up a text cord. And also this terrain, I think you can, Unity UVs can be vector 4s, right? Unity text cord float 4. I don't see why not, but... Okay, yeah, so they can be float 4. That's nice to see. So, okay, the terrain blend. Oh yeah, that will stay the same. Because that's really how we blend between the different UVs. So what we're gonna need to do is just have UV 0. And this can be text cord 0. And then we'll have UV 1 and UV 2 for the other two terrain types. And the index, I think, of the texture to use on the texture array will be on the alpha channel of this UV. So that makes that a little simpler. Okay, and then so for here, this normal, we still need that, and we still need the world position. Yeah, for just lighting calculations. And then the shadow coordinates. And the terrain blend. So yeah, this, hopefully we have enough here for the 4 UVs. Well, I don't need this actually, so let's just kind of, yeah, move these up. Oh, that should be 1. And I guess if I really needed to, I could calculate the world position in the what's it called? Fragment shader. I think that's possible. Yeah, we still need the blend, of course, but then just the 3 different UVs. I think, yeah, you can have up to 8, so we're fine for now. Okay, well, I already have this in the material, so I might as well let you set it here, but I'm sure they're all going to be 0. Oh, yeah, and also 1 is the default there, which is no emission, so... Okay, so all I have to do here is, yeah, just pass the UV coordinates through. Oh wait, don't I have to transform them somehow? I forget. We'll just leave it and we'll see. If it doesn't work out, then I know. It seems like that you do have to call something, but I guess I can look on my other toon shader because that actually does use the UVs. Okay, not that, that's the light function. Okay, this is common. Yeah, transform texture, but I have to actually know the texture. I think that's if... I think all this does is use the scaling and tiling variable for this texture, like this main texture ST, which we're not going to use. Oh, okay, I see. Well, I guess I should look that up real quick. Okay, yeah, this isn't what I want, I think. Vertex programs don't do anything fancy. Transform text macro to make sure texture scale and offset is applied, which we are not going to use for the terrain, so I think we'll be good. That's good to know because I didn't really want the vertex function to have to deal with figuring out which terrain texture it was going to use. Not that it's that difficult, but... So for here, let's see. Still need the world position and the stretch. Then this index is actually the UV's 4 now, so... Okay, so I think I can still use this index, but I'll also need to pass... I don't really know if it's useful to use this index because I'd only be using it for here. Yeah, so let's see. Float, lerp. Let's not say lerp. Blend. Oh. Blend value. And then I'll want the float for UVs. Oh, actually, I just realized UVs only have to be 2, so these can all be just a float 3. So that will cut down a little bit on some of the data that it has to interpolate. Yeah, because UVs only have to be an X and a Y, of course. And then we just have a float. Oh, I guess it knows that the third is going to be the layer, so. Okay, so float. Yeah, so we actually won't use the world position here, so I wonder if I even need to calculate it. Because instead of using this world position, we're going to actually just use the UV. And then we'll use the blend value. So I don't have to pass the input either. Okay, so just the UV and the blend values. So this would be okay, I dot terrain blend 0 and then I UV 0. And so we do the same thing for these other 3 or other 2. This occlusion color. Oh, the light info is giving us a terrain occlusion. Okay, but we won't actually want to use that anymore, so... Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah, the thing with that was what was causing those kind of like cloudy colors in the grass. That didn't really look that good anyway, so... Yeah, I'm not too sad about getting rid of that. Okay, so I don't need this, and I guess I can take it out of the terrain shader itself. Let's clean up this top bar because that's a lot of things I'm not going to need to be working with today. So we kind of simplified a lot of stuff because really all we're doing is we're handling passing through these UVs ourselves. Okay, and should be gone. That doesn't exist anymore. So I wonder, do I need this world position for the common lighting? I think I do for the... Yeah, to figure out the distance from a light. So let me make sure. Yeah, the world position. Okay, so... Yeah, we were kind of using the world position for free because we had to calculate it for the rest of the lighting. Okay, so I think if we play now, it's going to look really weird. But I guess I'll see if... Make sure there's nothing like super crazy. I actually don't know how it will look right now. Okay, so it's just all dirt because, yeah, it's just using the texture 0 because we don't actually set the UVs anywhere. Okay, so I guess what I should do is just make a new texture that just is really simple, 4 quadrants. Well, I still want to make sure it works with 2 separate textures. Okay, maybe, yeah, before I can really test this, I guess I do need to figure out how I'm going to load these textures in, but we won't do it too, or we won't try to get too fancy. Well, no, I'll just hack it so that the grass color will just share the second half of the dirt color for now. I don't really want to deal with mod loading right now. So document properties. Right, and how... Actually, I should check to see how big. I wish it would default to pixels. Okay, yeah, I need to or look to see how big the texture map's supposed to be. Yeah, texture. Oh, so it's 32 by 32. Well, that'll be fine anyway. Oh yeah, Inkscape. Why is it not? Okay, there we go. You have to hold control to zoom, I guess. Should know that I work in Inkscape so much. So I'll just make the first half of it brown and then the other half green. I don't really care about the colors. Okay, terrain. So yeah, I'll just place it in dirt color. And then the stone color can stay how it is. Okay, so now if we play, we should see a weird tiling between the brown and green. If oh no, because the UVs are all set to 0, 0, so it's just using the one side. That's fine. Another thing I need to do is set these textures. Okay, those are all. Actually, I should. Okay, it's not in the asset bundle anymore. I know I had put it in there to test, so I was going to take it out. So I guess the height maps and the start map should still tile. But the... Wait, is that right? Oh, that's messed up. Oh, I hadn't rebuilt the asset bundle. That's why it was still using the dark texture. That's okay. I actually want to export the whole... I gotta go back to it. The whole page and not just... the selected object. Now if I go back into Unity, yeah, that's right. But I want to set it wrap mode to clamp now. Okay, this grass color doesn't matter anymore, but I wonder, actually I should check. Yeah, here. When we load, I need to set these to clamp now and not tile. I guess it doesn't really matter because we're going to be staying within the bounds of the map, but just in case. Don't I have a terrain loader, don't I? Guess it's this one. So I'm trying to find where I create the texture array. Oh, right here. What is this texture layer? Okay, that's just a helper thing for this. Okay, so yeah, I have texture wrap mode repeat, so I'll just set that to clamp. Shouldn't really affect anything, but just in case. So now, if I rebuild the asset bundles, which I guess I'll just do to demonstrate because it was pretty quick yesterday. Okay, gotta wait for it to finish before I can touch anything. Okay, so when it's done, it'll, yeah, place them in here. And then, but I need to set them into the mod folder, which is in the streaming assets. Is it done? Okay, so now when we play, the terrain should alternate between the brown and green. Oh, an error. Copy texture can only copy between the same formats. Oh, okay. I think that when so it's RGBA compressed. Yeah, they're different. I don't know why it chose that. This is kind of an issue with the texture mapping. I need to like nail down which format would be best before I release the game. Oh, and now I have to rebuild the asset bundles again. Okay, let's write a note for that in. Roadmap to beta 1. see. Nail down texture format. Yeah, I should do that for the light ramps too, so I'll say that as well. I guess it shouldn't be format, it should be like, well, it is a format, but encoding is a better word for me because then I know what it's talking about, not like the layout or something, or what I was trying to talk about. Okay, is it done? Okay, so I just need to drag the asset bundles back into the mod so it will load the new asset bundles. Oh, wrong thing. Okay, so now it worked. Oh, okay, well it's using the new texture because it's a darker shade of brown. But it's not tiling. Oh, I think I know why. It's because all the UVs are set to 0, 0, so it's just taking the color from this corner. Okay, so that makes sense. So what I want to do is now redo the mesh generator just to do something simple where it basically will set all dirt tiles to UV 0, 0, grass tiles to UV 1, 1, and then stone tiles to 0, 0 on the second texture. Just test the shader. And then we can go about laying out the texture and hexagon shapes to actually try to do something pretty. Okay, so back into the terrain generator. Okay, so there's a couple things I don't need anymore. Let's look. I think I'll start. Where's the class that creates, yeah, the visible mesh right here. Okay, so I don't have this light info, but I'm just gonna cut that. Okay, and the terrain builder we don't need anymore because that's in part of the UVs now. Okay, but still list of vector 3. So this should just be, I guess, do I want to have like an array of lists? I guess that would work because we'd always have 3. So this will be UV builder. I can spell. The new and oh, press the wrong key. So we'd have 3 sets of UVs. And then I'll just loop through that, initialize these. Okay, yeah, so this is probably different now. Let me see what, if I look in the shader, I can see what the input UVs are supposed to be. Okay, well I didn't set them right, but yeah, so this text chord 0 is the UV1 and text chord 1 is UV1. Text chord 2 is UV2. So we can set those. Like this. I guess I could actually loop through these. So for int I equals 0, I less than UV builder length. That's pretty simple. That UVs okay. And then I need to loop through them again just to clear each of them. Okay, so now I set all that information. But we don't actually do anything with it yet. We also, yeah, we have the specular, which I don't care about if it's done because we don't use that. That was what did the the lighting info. In fact, I think I'll just never have this run anymore. Actually, so won't ever create it, and then I think this thing that sets up the terrain sections. Yeah, I'll just set this to always be idle, so it will never ask for that. So what I want to do is of course we won't want to do this in this visible mesh generator system, but just for testing, let's go ahead and do it. I already have this get terrain, which actually is not needed anymore, but let me see. It returns the index of the texture, not the actual prototype index. Okay, so this is again testing. Proto index is just this. Oops. And then what I want to do, oh yeah, this isn't going to be very good because there's 3 sets of UVs. Okay, let's just have a helper function for this. Vector 3 test make UVs. And I guess we'll have the index and then also the board. Okay, and that's a little confusing. Let's call this the UV index. Okay, so now we will have the board index. And how I'm going to do this is if the prototype is... Okay, well let's actually... We can get the name, and that's how we can tell what texture or what block type it is. And this is pretty hacky, but it'll be fine for now. So if it's dirt, then I want... Oh wait, I did that wrong. So it's case, or switch, the name, and then case dirt. Turn new, vector 3, and we'll take the 0, 0 coordinate of this texture, so down here. And this will be texture 0 in the array. And then if it's grass, we'll take the top right corner of that same texture, and then if it's stone, I'll return vector 3. Okay, we'll take the bottom left corner of the stone texture, which should be texture number 2. Alright, and if it's anything else, it shouldn't have ever gotten here, so I'm just going to throw an error. Okay, so oh no, I can't do that actually. So UV builder 0 add test make UVs 0, and then it's section board index, and then I just have to do the other 2, which take the 2 neighbors. Okay, that makes me think that maybe these board indexes should just be in an array, but no reason to change that now. So I think now that's all I have to do. to get this test up and running. So hopefully each block type should be a flat color that kind of matches what kind of terrain it's supposed to be. Okay, index out of range. Oh, right. These can be -1 if they don't exist. So if board index is less than 0, we'll return vector 3, 0, because it doesn't matter. Or, yeah, because their blends would be set to 0, so we won't actually blend with this vertex anyway. One thing I did notice is that I had a warning that some array was unused. Oh gosh, I thought that all these warnings here with my messaging system would be useful, but they just spam. Okay, so variable terrain is assigned. Oh yeah, I can get rid of that. And data index is never assigned to. Oh, that's kind of bad. I guess that worked so far because we only had one prototype. And then, okay, I won't worry about those yet because we're gonna redo that soon. Alright, so let's try it one more time. Oh, actually, I don't think I tried to fix the... Oh no, I did. UV2 is out of bounds. The supplied array needs to be the same size as the mesh vertices array. Oh. Okay, so I think it's working. Cool. So yeah, it does blend between them fine. Okay, well that's good. So at least my idea theoretically should work. I'm just looking for any artifacts. Like right here it looks kind of weird, but I think it's just because of the altitude, but you can't actually tell that there's any altitude because it's all one flat color. Which is one of the main reasons why I'm rewriting the system. Also, I think I'll get rid of these boulders for now. They're just going to distract me. Yeah, right here. Alright, so what's the next step? Oh, I guess I need to set up the tile map. Okay. Let's actually start it from the mod's perspective. I think what I like to do is kind of enter in information in the mods or in a mod file and see how easy that is, and then go backwards through the scripts to support that. So we have block prototypes. I guess I'll need to, I don't know, have a new terrain texture class maybe. Have an S. And okay, so obviously it will have a texture. I guess I'll need to name it as well. I'll just say test content. Dirt. Well, so we can mix, or we can place a whole bunch of different tiles on one texture now. That's one advantage to the system. I'll just call it terrain texture map. Okay, I can't just call it that. I'll need to call it like... Well, this is just a test mod, so it doesn't really matter, but these names are global between all mods, so you want to kind of have them unique. Okay, so this should just be test content main. Also, yeah, lowercase. Looks like I'm adding spaces for most of these, so I'm gonna try and stay consistent. Okay, so now here we don't... Well, I guess we can still supply the texture, but it will actually just be a name referring to this. Oh, what's wrong with this now? Oh, we're using the E there. Okay, and the height map... I don't want to get rid of these, even though I personally don't think I'll use the height map. So I guess I'll just leave it, but I'll actually just use a flat color. So I'll just put white there. We'll still use the distort texture because that does add some variation. Okay, so yeah, the texture is actually going to refer back to this terrain texture, so I'll just put test content main, and then it will need to have information about the tiles and the terrain texture that refer to this specific block. I'm trying to figure out what I want to call it. I feel like calling it a tile is kind of confusing. Maybe I'll call it a section, I don't know. But it's gonna work like a traditional tile map, so I probably should just stick to it. I don't know why it didn't create the ending for me. Okay, so I guess this will be terrain, tile, info. So one thing we'll want to, I guess, so here we should specify the size of tiles. So I guess there's two ways we could do it. We could either have like a terrain map is basically more like an atlas, and you can try and fit in as much as you can, and then you'd actually just put the UV coordinates here, which that would be a big pain. Or okay, well, let's try and make something here just to kind of show what I'm talking about. Okay, so this should be a lot bigger. Probably even bigger than this, but for testing this will be fine. So let's say, for example, okay, this is, I want it to be a hexagon. So if we had it as an atlas, then you could try to fit in, okay, I don't want snapping. Hexagon is kind of like this. So you'd save space on the texture. But then you'd have to like calculate the UVs for each of these and then somehow place them in this array. There are programs that do that, but actually I hadn't thought about that. But the way I was originally thinking was that if we just had, you could say that this texture is 4x4 cells, and so we'd just divide it up. Shrink it so they'll fit. And then say that there's a hexagon in each of these cells. And then you give like some inset or bleed area or something. Of course there's some, like there's unused space, but it's a lot simpler. I think I'll go with this for now, but we might support the other way. It's not going to be that difficult to support both, I don't think. I want to add it in. And then like, so this would be a margin, and then for a triangle margin, have another cell for that. It doesn't really matter which way you rotate it, but yeah, so this way is much simpler. So I think I'll go with it first, like I said, but I think letting you use like an external program to create an atlas is probably better in the long run, because then you can save a lot of space and you don't have to have, like, these triangles should be a lot smaller. Like, they shouldn't take up a whole cell, and so you could do that easily with a what am I trying to think of? Easily with an atlas. Okay, but anyway, so I guess I'll go ahead and support that now. So let's see. Okay, I'll just call this packing type. Okay, and this will be tiles, and then the other way would be atlas. And then I guess tile side are, let's see, number of come on, columns. There we go. I don't know why I had such trouble. So we'll just go, actually we only need, well, it doesn't matter. I'll just go 4x4 for now. And then if you had an atlas, then you would, oh, this is spelled wrong. Then you would somehow probably supply, like, most of the sprite atlas packers I've used supply a separate XML file that you can go and import. So maybe we'd have another entry here for like atlas file, and then it could read that. Okay, so anyway, let's not call it tile info then, because if it's an atlas, then there wouldn't be tiles. Okay, maybe like texture meta, because it's metadata about it. Well, this isn't really the right word either, because it's like, what cells and the terrain texture apply to this prototype. Okay, maybe I'll call it like a claim. Okay, so anyway, since this is a tile, I guess I'll just call it index. And then, like I said, I think that I might like have more information in these claims that say that, okay, this index is shown if we're at an altitude greater than 2, for example. Because higher textures, I think, would be, or higher blocks would be cool if they had a lighter texture, I think. And then, it'd also be nice to like have multiple texture indexes that it would choose from, and maybe we could disable rotation or something. But for now, I'm just gonna go simple. One other thing I do need to have though is if we should treat this as a hexagon or a margin. Should that be part? Like, I almost wonder if the terrain texture itself should have this information instead of the block prototype. I don't think so. Okay, so this will have a type. Yeah, the hexagon, and then I'll need to have another one for the margin, and then. Okay, so index 1 will be the rect margin. And index 2 will be the try margin for this. Okay, so the height map start is fine, and okay, I guess we still do need the stretch values. I guess the question is, do I want the height map to also get this UV treatment? Well, I don't think I will right now, because we could even, yeah, the height map, if we did that, the height map could be encoded as the alpha channel in this texture. So I think I'll just leave it how it is now. Okay, so anyway. Let's add this to the block prototype. Or to the other block prototypes. So stone will be 3, 4, 5, and then grass will be 6, 7, 8. Actually, let's put them all in a row. So we have 4 columns. Okay, so this will be 4, 5, 6, and the next one will be 8, 7, 9. Or wait. 8, 9, 10. I don't know why I counted down first. That's kind of weird. There we go. And so, again, I don't want any height maps. Let's white. Alright, and now... Okay, so subdivisions, I'm going to bring these down to 0 because since I'm not going to have height maps, there's really no reason to have more subdivisions. Except for distortion maps. Maybe just 1. Okay, and this doesn't exist anymore. So we still need the width and the height. Maybe we could also just supply the texture format here, but okay. Yeah, for some reason Visual Studio doesn't have its little icon here, and it's really confusing me when I try to switch over to it. Okay, so table of contents, I just need to get rid of this stretch value. And then the block, I need to add those new classes. So this will be the, I'll just call it a terrain texture. Okay, so I had the name and texture, and then I had packing type and num tile columns. Okay, I was able to type that much better than last time. And num tile rows. Okay, and so then I need to create, I guess maybe I could just put the class below the block prototype. Okay, so this will be texture, or terrain texture claim. Now one thing is also this texture, okay. I just realized a problem, not a big problem, but so right now I assume that all the texture can only let's rename that. All of these claims can only be on the same texture, but I could see a mod wanting to add just a couple extra like a couple extra art. Yeah, like what am I trying to say? Like tiles, art tiles for dirt, for example. And so then maybe we'd want to be able to have two separate textures here, or it would use some of the default textures and then some of that it applied supplied itself. We can actually put the texture name in the claim. And that's not really any more trouble because when we encode the UVs in the shader, we already have the texture index, so it could be separate. Okay, so this will be texture, index, and I guess the type. Okay, and so we won't have this texture anymore. It'll be the terrain texture claim. Alright, and I need to actually do this for all of the different prototypes. Okay, now I'm gonna have to change the indexes again, but so 4. Oh, what am I doing? 5, 6, and then 8, 9, 10. Okay. Oh. That one just got messed up probably when I was dragging stuff around by accident. Okay, so now there's going to be a lot of errors in the asset loaders. But luckily they won't be that difficult to fix, I don't think. Okay, so the main thing is I'm going to need to store these texture claims in the data. And then also... Okay, well I won't really need to store like information about the texture because I think what I'll do the block prototype. This texture index will just be gone. And instead I'll have another class. Serializable public class block. Okay, and then this will have an integer to the texture index, and then we'll also have... Okay, how do I want to store the UVs for this? I guess it should just be a list of vector 2s. Which, yeah, I think I'll just be a rectangle around the cell. Yeah, and yeah, for like, again, when we get an atlas and maybe the cells can be hexagon shaped or triangle shaped, then we just copy those into here. So, okay. I don't really want the asset organizer to have to know about any information about this texture, but okay. And so public enum type. I think it will need to know this type. Okay, so I think that's all I need to have for now. And so really the terrain generator will just look through these textures and find the correct type. Well, we could organize that earlier. Like have a list for each type. That might be a better thing to do because I think... well no, because if I have more conditions, it's gonna have to filter them anyway, so I don't know what would be better. Okay, well it doesn't really matter. Either way, it's not like it's gonna be that much work because there shouldn't be more than, let's say, like 10 or 12 different block textures probably on about that order. This should probably be a list. What is this? Yeah, this is wrong. Why is a statistic part of the block prototype? It should be part of the block itself. Okay. I don't think that was actually used anywhere, but... Okay, so now there's a lot of issues where it's just saying that... Yeah, it doesn't find certain information. Okay, so the texture... We don't have to actually load anything about the textures here. We just need to load the textures, the terrain textures separately. Which, speaking about that, I did forget to add one thing to the mod files. This database needs to have a list of terrain texture. I think I named that right. Okay, and so let me see. Block prototype, yeah, we'll still load that. Now I just need to load them. Do I really need to make a new function for this? Because all I'm gonna do... Well, it has to check if it's null and stuff. Okay, okay. I think when I rewrite or revisit loading, which, yeah, maybe, see, I've been wanting to implement like a new, better event system that's going to clean up my code a lot. So maybe after I get all this art stuff pinned down, we can do that, but I think I'm going to have one file just take care of loading each of these file types, and that should cut down on this a lot. Okay, so I'm just going to do this same type of thing. Okay, so null terrain texture. Okay, this is spelled differently, but Alright, so that's taken care of. Now I gotta go back to the organizer, and so really... okay, so this, like... I guess I should make a whole separate file that takes care of the terrain textures. Or, I don't know, they're so intertwined that maybe they could just go together, but... So over here we assume that each block has its own texture. This is actually kind of simpler because we'll have all the textures ready to go already, so I can just create the texture map right away without having to wait, or the texture array right away. Why do I need a read-write texture? I don't actually... Yeah, I never write to them. Why'd I want that? Okay, did I have to have that clicked on to, like, read the pixels from them? I don't think so. Let me just write a little thing. Little note. To normal and distort maps need to be read write enabled. Okay, so I kind of did this. Okay, yeah, so the shader is pretty much complete now. The mesh generator, but now I need to generate or actually set real UVs, which is the fun part. Okay, so I kind of did that. That's what I'm working on now. Okay, so the block prototype organizer. Well, let's just make a different class. And I guess I'll just copy. I really just need the constructor. Yeah, no reason for this to be public, I don't think. This is the wrong namespace, isn't it? I put it in the wrong thing. Now I'm gonna have to remember to delete this file later. Yeah, this should go in loading. That's not how that works. Okay, what's it complaining about here? Game data cannot. Okay, it just hadn't initialized yet. Probably because there was an exception in there. Okay, so I want to have like public void organize, and I guess we just loop through every terrain texture. Let me see. Okay, yeah, so first I need to clear the, well, the database doesn't actually store anything about the textures, so that's not an issue. Okay, let's load this, I guess. Okay, so what I need to do, I guess I need to have some metadata about each texture. Yeah, because I need to convert, well, I need to read the atlas or whatever for each texture and then figure out the UVs for each one so that the blocks can easily just copy the UVs into their game data. So I guess, let me see. Oh, I forgot the class keyword. So this will be, do I need the name? I don't think so, because, yeah, I'll have like a dictionary that's indexed by name. Oh, not public. Private dictionary string data, and this, I'll just call it the data for now. But it will have index, and so it'll have a list of UV sets. Okay, use float 2, it's vector 2. Do I want to do that? No, because each cell, actually each cell doesn't have any information about what type of data is stored in there. That's a good question. I think I want to leave like as little information in this terrain texture file as possible, and then it'll just be up to these claims to interpret the data how they want. Because then I'd have to like have an array here that says what each cell is. And I don't think I can do that like with... I guess I'd have to look into how a good texture atlaser works, which maybe I should do that before I go too far. What was it called? I think it's like Sprite Packer. Oh, I didn't even spell it right. Texture Packer. I think this is the one I'm thinking of. So yeah, I can import a bunch of stuff, export. Okay, well this is all fine, but I want to know about its... Okay. I wanted to know about its format. I don't know if it has that information here. Documentation? Like I want, if you can set metadata in this program for each sprite, then maybe that is the way to go. I don't really know what's easier though, because either way you're gonna have to be setting metadata. I guess it'd be easier to actually work with the graphics than in the block prototypes. But I'm probably getting ahead of myself worrying about this too much. I don't really see anything about being able to set your own information. just skimming through this to see if there's any like metadata thing that you can put on a per sprite basis. Seems like most of this is about packing the sprites, which is fine. And maybe they just don't worry about it because they think you'll do it in the game, but you've got to be able to at least name them? I don't know. Okay, maybe this is what I wanted to see. So, okay, I guess it just uses the name of the sprite in the file system, which... Oh, so, okay, that's the output. Settings, okay, pivot. Okay, that's a 9 slice. Okay, yeah, so it doesn't seem like you can do metadata. Or at least they don't ever say, like you could right click and say enter in special information, which is fine. I mean, I guess it is kind of outside their scope. This isn't its hidden features, I don't know. Placing, okay, no. Alright, so, okay, we could still support this, but we can't use it to enter in metadata, so, okay, I think we'll just do this on, yeah, basis, on the block prototype basis. Probably for the Atlas, we should also have, like, Atlas sprite name or something instead of just using the index, but the index works fine for tiles. In fact, I think I might just rename this to like tile index. To drive that point home. I don't think, yeah, I didn't replace anything else. Okay, then I should also rename it on the block prototype file. So, okay, I don't think I'll do the atlases anytime soon. In fact, I think I might push it back even before, I mean, even after beta 1. Okay, support texture atlases using, what was that, sprite packer? Okay, I closed it. I think it's sprite packer. Anyway, let's move that up. Okay, so back to this. Oh. It's frozen? Oh, okay, it was just... Oh yeah, because I opened Unity, so I had to recompile. Alright, so I'm trying to decide, do I need to really loop through here? I guess I do need to pick out the UV sets, and this is the part where we create the texture. Okay. So actually, oops, Biblic. It'll just be a vector 2 for UVs, and then I guess I'll have a tile index, and then, yeah, if we load from Atlas, we can have the Atlas name as well. And so this should actually just be entries. Okay, so let's say add train texture. Yeah, except this isn't a block prototype. So again, I'll prefix it with M to show that's the mod texture. But I don't actually, well, I just create this data, a new data class. So first, I guess I should make sure that the name is valid. So if string is null or empty, mtext dot name, then we'll throw new mod load exception, string format, unnamed terrain texture in. Okay, then this is database debug name. Okay, so we don't actually have to grab the texture at all in here, because that would just happen here. Although, okay, I do need to grab it actually because we need to have an ordered list of textures in order to assign them an index. So yeah, we will need private dictionary string int, and this will be the name map. And I guess I'll need a private list of texture 2D for textures. Okay, and I should create these all here because I always forget to do that. New. This name map is new. This data. Okay. And then the block prototype creator, I can maybe kind of pull this out. And it's gonna be a little different. Okay, so this texture layer is basically the same as my old data class, but I don't have to worry about it already existing. I should check to make sure that the name is unique though. So if a name map contains, okay, I need to make it uppercase first. Then, oh, it should be contains key. Then we'll throw new mod load exception, string format, non-unique terrain texture name in this database. Okay, so now that I know that's unique, I can add it to the textures. Well, I guess I gotta grab the texture first. Oh yeah, loaded assets. What is it? The dictionary? Yes, so I just need to get the asset key, which I forget how to do. Oh, okay, how does get texture? I guess I'll do that because it seems kind of big. Although, okay, I do already generate the key. Okay, so the mod name, I think is just database mod name, and yeah, I should actually rename this to M database now I think about it, because it's conflicting with the game database. Okay, so now textures, add text, and then name map equals textures count -1. Okay, so now I just got to create this data. Let's call it meta. Okay, and the index is just, okay, texture. I guess since I use it twice, in case this ever changes, I should do it like this to make sure that they match up. Okay, and then I guess the entries would be based on what type it is. So switch mtex hacking type to upper invariant. Oh, I should also, if it's null, then we'll have to throw an error. Tech is, alright, string is null or empty. Hacking type. Okay, yeah, so I'll just say no terrain texture hacking type. Don't really need the debug name because now we've determined that this name is unique. Okay, so for now we'll just support tiles. If it's a default, then we'll throw another exception. Okay, so yeah, unsupported packing type. Did I call it tiles or something else? Okay, yeah, it was tiles. So if it is, okay, well basically the whole rest of this function is different, so I guess I should make a new function for this. Void figure metadata for tiles. And I think I'll just pass the same thing, although I guess I don't need the database. I should pass this as well. And then after that is done, then I would just add the data to the map. Do I? Wait, I don't really need this name map because the names are already encoded for this data. Yeah, that's kind of... And the data has the index in it. Okay, so what is this called? Okay. This is data. Okay, let's not... We'll need to rearrange this slightly. Okay, so I don't have to do anything afterwards. I was going to add this data to the dictionary after this was done, but I already did it here, so that's fine. Figure. Okay, so we just pass that through, and then also that object. Okay, I might be able to finish this before the stream's over. So for tiles, it's pretty simple. We're gonna... Okay, so they're actually... I was gonna say I'll just put the UVs right here, but that's not a good idea because you'll get some bleeding. So really, you need to have like a buffer zone between the UVs. So I guess I should put that here as well. So let's see. Tile margin. And this will tell the number of pixels. That's probably fine. Really, you just need like 1 pixel, but... Okay, and then I also need to put that margin in the actual data file. Okay, so let's see. Vector 2 start is... Okay, so UVs go from 0 to 1, and so I guess we need to find the size of the margin in UV space. So it'd be float, margin, UV, length is mtex. Okay, so we're gonna need an actual texture because we need to know its width and height. So I'll just pass that through here as well. Tile margin. Okay, so actually if this texture is not a square, then the U and the V length will be different. So mtex, tile margin divided by texture width, and then tile margin divided by texture height. And then the vector 2 increment is just vector 2. So it's the texture width divided by the number of tiles. Is that true? Oh, but yeah, then we'd have to convert it to UV space. So it's actually just 1 divided by the number of columns. Yeah. And then the actual size is vector 2. Oh no, it's actually just the increment minus the start divided by 2. Because we gotta take out the margin on both sides. Or start times 2. Okay, so for int column 0, column less than num columns, and then again for the rows. Wait, I did this backwards. I want the rows to be the outer variable and the columns to be the inner variable, so that way we'll go from... Actually, 0 is at the bottom left because UVs start at the bottom left. So it'll go 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, blah, blah, like that. Let me see what else. What do I do now? I guess I need to add an entry. And then entry dot... So tile index is just the row times the number of columns plus the column. Yeah, we've done this a lot of times. And then, okay, so the UVs is the interesting thing. So we know for now everything's going to be a square. Did I not make it an array? Oh, no, it is. Okay, so I guess I'll start at the bottom left and go clockwise, or it'd be like that. I don't know what the best way is to organize these. But I think that might be the idea. The bottom left is just... Okay, well, let's rename this to the margin. The start is equal to the increment times... well, that's not actually right. So it'd be vector 2 increment x times the column plus margin x, and then increment y times the row plus margin y. Okay, and so the first UV is bottom left, so that's just the start. And then the second UV is top left. So, I guess... Let's actually have, okay. The end would be, yeah, the start plus the size. Okay, so this would be the start x, but then the end y. And then the next one is top right, so this is just the end. And then the next one is bottom right, so it's the end x and the start y. Okay, so now I think we figured that out. Okay, actually need to pass the texture because we need its width and height for the margin. Okay, so we've... Oh, I need to actually add the entry into the metadata. I can spell it. I did that wrong. Same thing again. Okay. So yeah, this is done, and so we've figured out all the metadata, but now I just need to... oh yeah, this should be terrain textures. Okay, so yeah, I need, if the textures are greater than 0, then we'd do some work. Board texture width. Yeah, this is not needed anymore. Wait. Actually, yes it is, because we have to have the framework mod supply this so that all textures can match it. Even though technically we could get that from each texture itself. Okay, so now... Okay, we don't have this text map anymore. Yeah, so we just need to loop through each texture, actually. Did I spell that wrong? Oh, what's wrong with it? Not operate variables var because var does not contain forget enumerator. Textures is a list. Okay, I think it's just confused because there's errors, so I'm not going to worry about that yet. Okay, and then this should just be... Oh, and then I don't have the name here. So... I guess, okay, so I'll... Oh, no, I can't do that either. Okay, that's kind of a pain. We could just do that, I guess. I was gonna say there's no way that I can convert an index back into the name unless I like loop through every value in the dictionary and then find one that has the same key, which I could do, but okay, this is getting kind of annoying. Let's say num textures equals textures count. I feel like, do I have like an extra curly brace somewhere? Because I feel like it's, I'm not sure why it sees textures here, but then later on it doesn't. Okay, and then this is again setting the texture array. Which do I really need to do because I already have a list? Okay, I think this is the issue. Okay, there we go. Okay, so yeah, there's still errors because the block prototype organizer is still a little messed up. So now I need to actually pass in the name map for this. Let's not do that. So this will be the texture name map. And I don't need this anymore. Oh yeah, this should just be an integer now. Because yeah, basically I'm gonna pass through. Oh, actually, it's not the name map. It's gonna pass through this data to the block prototype organizer. So this would be terrain texture organizer is what I'm trying to find. Data, and so I'll just call this texture map again. Okay, what's it complaining about? Inconsistent accessibility. Okay, this doesn't need to be public, so. Okay, and the main thing is we don't have to create the texture array anymore. Let's see. So I'm gonna get rid of that. Okay, I guess still have to do that, but I don't know. It's gonna be really needed. Oh, I guess, okay, it does have to be read-write in order to get pixel, I guess, because that's what I'm testing for. This load exception is a little nonsensical. Block prototype set read-write disabled texture. Okay, I think I should say disabled texture. Maybe that makes a little more sense. So I don't think I'll need this function, but I'll keep it in case. Okay, so now I know that they do need to be read-write enabled. I must have tested that before, even though it's kind of weird that you have to set it as read-write enabled if you're going to read from it, because I'm not going to write to it, but whatever. Okay, so one thing I need to do here is I need to set up this data for information from the texture map. So let me see. In fact, I think I'll make a separate function for this. Private void set up texture map UVs. We'll have that, and then also have the game logic data. Okay, why is it taking so long to save every time? So I just need to set up this array of block texture. And I'll know the length of it already, so data dot and so the length is the same as what it is in the map data, so what do I call it? Texture claims. Okay, and I guess if it's 0, then I should throw an error, because why would you want... It's gotta have some textures associated with it. Okay. Has no textures or texture claims. Okay, I also need to make sure that there's a claim for, at least one claim for the hex face and both margins. How do I want to do that? I guess as hex, as rect margin, and has try margin. Probably a better way to do it than making 3 different variables, but is it? Oh, it's not assigned. So yeah, I need to set these all to false. So hex face texture. I guess I don't really need to test both of these, because if there's no claims period, then there won't be any for each type. Okay, so now I just need to loop through every texture claim. Okay, we'll have the index. Okay, so texture claim. So I'll just pull this data out. Okay, so what I need to do... So I need to get the texture index. Okay, let's... So data... Block texture. Okay, not claim. And then I'll go ahead and set this into the textures array. Okay, so the texture index equals... Okay, well, I guess I'm going to need the terrain data, so our terrain texture data. Okay, let's do a try get so I won't throw any errors. So texture map, try get value. Okay, so it's a mod, claim, texture to upper invariant. Okay, and I need, yeah, again, I have this problem a lot because I have to make sure the texture is not null because this will throw an error. It'd be nice, like, well, I should probably just throw a, or make a helper function that I can at once, like it will throw an exception if this is null, but, or just return null still. I don't know what the best way to handle that would be. But if string is null or empty texture. Okay, so block prototype has texture claim with no associated texture. Let's just say null associated texture. Okay, and then here, if there's no texture, then we'll need to throw an error. That texture doesn't exist. Okay, so if we get this far, then I can actually set the texture index. Okay, and now all I have to do, let me see what else is there. So there's a type and then the UVs. So the UVs are really simple. I don't have to do anything to them except pass them through. Oh, right. So it's the index, the tile index. So I guess I need to, okay, so there's a little bit more I have to do. If lclaim dot, oh wait, no, if the mod claim tile index is less than 0, or tile index is out of bounds of the entries, then we'll throw an error. And also, yeah, if it has this tile index when the terrain texture is not a tiled texture, we should, or tile packed, then we should also throw an error. Out of bounds tile index. Oh wow, I completely lost track of time. Okay. Yeah, so if the tile index, let me see. I guess now we should just assume that it's in tile mode because we don't support anything else. But the terrain data doesn't actually have like a type or packing type associated with it. Should probably add that. Okay, so for now I'll just have bool is tile packed. Which right now that's the only thing that exists, but well, no, let's be good and actually have an enumeration. Packing equals, no new. Okay, so if, again, we'll just assume that it's in tile mode. So if terrain data dot packing does not equal tiled, Because if we have Atlas, whenever we support Atlas packing, we'd want to check to make sure that the claim, like if it doesn't have an Atlas name, then we can assume it's in tile mode. But I don't have that set up right now, so. Lock prototype has texture claim with tile index on non-tile packed texture. Okay, what else? So I guess at this point, I can finally pass the UVs. Oh, actually, I can just grab the terrain texture organizer entry. Okay, and from there, not the type. Wait, am I doing this right? Oh no, that's the mod claim. I want the logic claim. Oh, gosh, I keep spelling that wrong. Okay, and then the type. Okay, well that's really simple. All we have to do is like do an enumeration, but it's pretty late now, and I gotta go grab something to eat. So we'll figure that out tomorrow. Let me just write something here. So unfortunately, I didn't completely get to test out everything, but tomorrow we'll finish this up and hopefully at least get the terrain runnable again, where we try to use the UVs. We're actually gonna have to do some more math for that, because I'm gonna have to, given a square tile, figure out the indexes for each hexagon on the UV. Yeah, it actually won't go all the way to the bottom because the shape of the hexagon, something like that. So that will be fun. But anyway, yeah, that's it for me for right now. So thanks everybody for coming by. I really appreciate it. If you want to be notified when I go live next, which should be at no later than noon Eastern time tomorrow, feel free to follow me here on Twitch or on my Twitter. I always post when I go live. I also have a YouTube channel where you can check out any past streams, and a Discord server where you can chat with me throughout the day. Love to have you. And I keep on wanting the stream in the afternoon, but I keep on not being able to. So we'll see. I guess just keep your eyes peeled on subscriptions here or follows here. But yeah, we'll see if I can do it today. I want to, but I don't know. I've been really busy. But yeah, that's it for me for today, and I'll see you later. Bye-bye.